Yo, reporting live from Columbus, Georgia, the greatest city in America. We are now in crunch time. This is the draft special of the Undisputed GOAT podcast, man. And I'm here live with the TikTok crew, BRF Sports and Flash. Ah. So, man, what's up with you guys, man?
Boy, we like the new Avengers up in this thing, man. That's how we got to do it, man. Life is good though. I can't complain though.
All right, then. What about you, Flash?
Same here. Life is pretty good. I can't complain much at all. I got a healthy kid and a healthy me, so I can't ask too much more than that.
Yes, indeed. And we got my main man from the chat, Harrison. What's going on, man?
Chilling, bro. I just finished homework I gotta do today. Going back to school tomorrow. Just life is good. Life is good.
Hey, man, life is good always, man, and God is good, man. Hey, shout out to Columbus, Georgia, man. Y'all know what it is down there. Shout out to E-Dub, Southside, hey, Rose Hill Seafood. All of y'all know what it is, man. All over Columbus, Georgia. Thank you for paying attention to this podcast. And, man, without further ado, man, let's just get right into it, man. Now, as we all know, man, last week, a USC great passed away in the form of the great O.J. Simpson. Let's not forget about that. But this week, a USC great has gotten his Heisman back in the great Reggie Bush. So my thing is, what are you guys' thoughts about Reggie Bush at this point, getting his Heisman back? And with this happening, do y'all think that the Michigan Fab Five should get their Final Four banners back? And we'll start with the great Flash at this point.
Well, I'm glad that Reggie Bush got his trophy back. I think it's been well overdue. I think this kind of speaks to the issue that we kind of brought it up a little bit. I think last week, the week before, I can't remember, about the transfer portal and the NIL and the issues that we have with it. And it used to just be all under the table, and it just wasn't acknowledged. So this is kind of the thing. It's like he deserved to get it back, obviously. And so now we're at the point where now we just got to find a balance with the transfer portal and the NIL. And I just think it was well overdue. I mean, guys were getting paid under the table for so long, and it makes the NCAA, I will say, it makes the NCAA look less hypocritical now. Yeah. So it's more of a win for the NCAA, which has been one of the most hypocritical organizations in ever. So it's a win in that aspect. And a win for Reggie Bush and USC as well. Like, there's no asterisk anymore. It's actually acknowledged in history. So I think that's a good thing.
All right. Hey, Frank, live from Georgia himself.
Definitely. Me personally, I'm of the mindset he should have never lost it. But I mean, that was the NCAA doing what the NCAA does, which, I mean, Flash hit it on the head. I think they are the most hypocritical organization in all of sports when you consider the amount of bank and the amount of money they make on these players at one point, and these players couldn't see a dime, and the truckloads of money that they were bringing in for that organization off of the players' back. So, like I said, they're the most hypocritical organization in all of sports, in my opinion. Definitely well overdue. I mean, Reggie Bush, I mean, hey, that man, I remember him when he was going to SC. It was one of the greatest established teams in the history of college football, with him and Matt Leinart and Lindell White and all those boys just dominating the way they did, just beating everybody, it was like, for that 2-3 year stretch, it was like the total package of, like, they just had everything. And he was just so electric, and he was so fun to watch, and he truly earned and deserved that Heisman. So it's long overdue that he got that back. And just, I mean, it's a win for Reggie Bush. It's a win for USC, and just the NCAA just needs to. Yeah, I mean, it's just the transfer portal and the NIL, everything just kind of, I guess in a way you kind of say, starting to come into light more, as far as like money and how it's just being like I mean, we already knew what was going on, and it's like these things being, legalized and being a part of the game today. And now it's like you understand what it was and what it is and what it's going to be. So this was long overdue. And Reggie Bush, I am very glad he got his Heisman back.
Harrison?
Yeah, everyone just said the same thing. I mean, it's been overdue, and really glad that Reggie Bush got his Heisman back, and also out of the USC, the University of Southern Cal. So yeah, I think it was overdue, and I'm happy that he got his Heisman back.
All right. Hey man, look, I have to ask this question because I'm gonna throw a curveball at somebody before any show is done. Whether it's my show, whether it's PSP show, whether it's Harrison show, whether it's anybody's show. Do y'all think that USC Dynasty team could have beat the LSU Tigers, or could it beat the LSU Tigers, or the University of Miami Hurricanes?
Oh man. Does that USC team beat 2019 LSU, or which Miami? Are we saying 02 Miami?
The 2001 Miami Hurricanes. That's
01 Miami. My 01 Miami destroys them. I'm not ashamed to say it. 01 Miami destroys them just off of the back. Their defense was just ungodly.
Mm-hmm.
Their defense was just ungodly. I mean, the offense. I mean, and the offense made plays. The offense had playmakers, but that defense was in another world. I think that defense, speed wise, could have matched up with the SC offense. And even though the SC defense was really good, I think what set those Miami teams apart was the ridiculous amount of depth they had at the running back position. Because if I'm not mistaken, 2001, Frank Gore, Clinton Portis, and Willis McGahee were all in the backfield at the exact same time, which makes it a very frightening situation. So I don't think SC beats 01 Miami. And I don't think they beat 2019 LSU. I think 2019 LSU, even though USC played the game like they thrived in the track meet kind of environment of an offensive game.
Mm-hmm.
I think LSU, from the wide receiver standpoint, did that better because of the depth they had with Jefferson Chase and Terrace Marshall being the 3. And then we sleep on Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who was a hell of a running back for them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I don't think that USC squad beats either of those, because I just think each team brought something to the table better than that USC team. I think they both get that USC team.
What about you, Flash? What you think?
That 01 Miami Hurricane team is I mean, just unreal. In fact, I think they actually beat that 2019 LSU team. They were so stacked at every position, at every level, not offense, defense. The front seven, the secondary. I mean, the tight ends. Honestly, the only thing they didn't have was an elite quarterback. That's it. I mean, if they had, and it's not like Dorsey was bad. He was a great college quarterback, but they didn't have like an elite, first round quarterback, and that was the only thing that team lacked.
Yeah.
That USC team was beat by Vince Young. I've never seen a one man take over a whole football game like that and beat a team by himself, and that was the day. I still think that's probably the single greatest individual performance in a college football game ever. Mm-hmm. And then that USC team was, that was never supposed to happen. So I think when it comes to those three teams, as who would beat who, I think actually that USC team falls to 3.
Okay, Harrison.
Yeah, I'll say the same. I'll say the same thing with Flush was saying. Flush was cooking on that one.
Yeah, cooking like stir fry. Which brings us to our next topic, man. We all know what day it is tomorrow. It's like Christmas in April, the NFL draft. Now, one thing that there's a lot of things that we love about the NFL, but the draft kicks off the offseason like none other. Free agency is always good, but the draft is just a little bit more exciting. You know, the parties, you know, seeing the great players that we not only know in college, but we knew in our hometowns, man. And Columbus, Georgia, y'all know what it is. We have a lot of guys that are in the NFL right now that came from the great city of Columbus. You know, Marcus Smith, Isaiah Crowell, Jarvis Jones. And let's take it all the way back to the 70s with the great Otis Sistrunk, man. You know, shout out to those guys who made it out of Columbus and made it to the NFL. But I have to ask each member of the panel, what are you most looking forward to about the NFL draft, man? We'll start with you, BRF.
What I am looking forward to the most, that is a good question. I want to see how many wide receivers go in the first round of the draft.
Yes.
I want to see how many wide receivers go in the first round. Wide receiver is deep. I mean, from a stat I saw when I was doing my research earlier today, in the top 100 draft prospects, 18 of them are wide receivers. Wide receiver might be the deepest position this year. It's insane. And I want to see how many go between round 1 and round 2. Because I legit think all 18 could go between round 1 and round 2. The position is that stacked. So what I'm looking forward to, I want to see how many wide receivers go between round 1 and round 2.
All right. Harrison.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm excited and a little bit nervous because Champ, you know my team is because we've not been drafting well for the past couple of years, and now we have a new general manager. We got a new head coach. They know each other really well for the past couple of years, and they've been drafting really well. And also, shout out to Dave Canales, by the way. He said something in his press conference saying, "What was your favorite thing about the draft?" Because you know his favorite player in the draft. And guess who it was? Champ. Take a guess. When he was with Seattle at the wide receiving coach. And he loved the man and only from Kansas State, Tyler Lockett. And he was playing absolutely amazing right now in Seattle. I think he's still underrated right now, personally. And I'm just hoping that we draft correctly. If we don't draft correctly, I'm not gonna watch the draft anymore because I hate watching the draft because of how draft we are. Poorly drafting we've been recently. But hey, look, I hope we draft correctly. I hope we get the players that I want in this draft that we're gonna talk about pretty soon. But hey, new general manager, new head coach. I'm ready for tomorrow. Well, actually, I'm ready for day 2, actually.
Hey, and let's go to the comments in the chat, man. Shout out to the coach, man. Shout out to the coach, man. Coach Dante, biggest Houston Texans fan, arguably I've ever seen, man. Hey, man, big shout out to the coach, man. Hey, go check out what he can. Go check him out. Some of the film studies and things that he do on his Instagram page. One of the best ones we've seen. And now, without further ado, Flash, let me ask you, what are you most looking forward to in the draft at this point in time?
So I'm an old school draft guy. Part of me actually wishes, not part of me, all of me wishes that it was all still on Saturday and Sunday. Me and my buddies had a thing where like usually there was a party the night before and then we'd all get together like early in the morning, hungover with pizza and soda and just sit there basically and watch the draft for the next 2 days. So me personally, I miss that. But one of those things I always love is I always like watching the draft analysts go back and forth on who they like and who they don't like. Watching Mel Kiper and Kurt Herbstreit or whoever else like kind of go back and forth on who they liked and who they dislike. I love watching that going. and even going, if you just kind of flip back and forth between ESPN and NFL Network and just seeing what the coverage is like, those are the little things that I like so much about it. That's kind of, and I also always look forward to the fans booing the crap out of Roger Goodell every single year.
Yeah, they do that every year. I mean, I thought that was going to end after the lockout. You know, I thought that was just a lockout thing, but I mean, I gotta ask you guys this, man. Who's the best commissioner that has ever been in the NFL?
Oh gosh.
It's got to be. I feel like it's got to be. It's got to be Pete Rozelle.
Yeah,
it has to be. I don't see it in. He was there for the merger of the AFL and the NFL. He was a big, huge player in that. He was instrumental in the NFL in the draft and how it is today. I shouldn't say how it is today, but how it was before they kind of went all primetime with it. It made the NFL. He was part of he was there and a lot and very responsible for making the NFL number 2, I would say, before he retired, the number 2 sport in America. I'd say until, I mean, he was gone before the mid 90s, because then it was Paul Tagliabue. But I would say it has to be him. He had the longest career. I think the impact that he had, and with the growth and everything else, I think it has to be Pete Rozelle. I mean, you could argue Roger Goodell in a certain aspect, just because of the amount of money that they make now and the growth in the league in general. But he's been a part of way too many scandals and done way too many things wrong for me to consider that.
Hey, before we move on, let's introduce a person that needs no introduction. My main man from New Jersey, PSP. What's going on, PSP?
Good, man. How y'all doing?
Yes, man. Just doing good, man. Enjoying some of this bipolar Georgia weather. I mean,
boy, what you talking about?
Went from 79 degrees to 68 degrees. Like, what is going on around here?
You're channeling some inner Wisconsin
degrees in Jersey.
It's freezing.
In Jersey.
Ooh, Doc, come on, like cold weather right there. So you just joined us, man. I gotta ask you. Hey, number one, what do you think about Reggie Bush and him getting his Heisman back? That's number one. I have to ask you that. I would be remiss if I didn't allow you to answer that, because I really saw one of the best videos I've seen on TikTok about that on your page, and you went into it in depth. But if you can, man, talk to my audience here in Columbus, Georgia, and all over the world about what do you think about Reggie Bush and getting his Heisman back?
He deserves it. 14 years he had to forfeit the Heisman. I also want to give a big shout outs to Johnny Football, Johnny Manziel, because remember, he was on Club Shay Shay's podcast, and he has been a strong advocate for Reggie Bush getting the Heisman Trophy back. And we should look at Johnny Manziel as an example. Johnny Manziel signed what? How many autographs did he sign? And what was it? Like, for what? For free? Which no one is buying. And we all saw the Netflix documentary. What up, Coach?
What up, y'all?
So my thing is, Reggie Bush deserves it. It's about time. I'm glad that he finally got the Heisman Trophy back. It shouldn't have taken this long, but I'm finally glad that he got it. And for the Michigan Fab Five, should they get? Yes, they should. Despite the whole situation, I mean, you can't erase history. You can't ignore what transpired. I'm happy for it. It's just a new day for college football and moving forward. So I'm happy that the older guys, the guys who paved the way, are finally getting their due.
All right. Welcome, Coach. It's good to have you on the show finally, man. Great to have you. A privilege and a pleasure to have you, man. I would be remiss if I did not let you answer this same question. What do you think about Reggie Bush getting his Heisman back?
I mean, like I said, I think he was one of the dynamic players at that era in college football, and I think he deserves the right to have it back. So again, he had a pretty productive career in the NFL. Didn't live up to the quite overall peak that he was, but he did have a productive career in the NFL. So like I said, I'm glad he got his Heisman back.
Aiden, you with us, man? You with us?
Yeah, I'm with you.
You still lagging or you
Yeah,
good?
I'm good. I'm good.
All right, then. Did you hear about Reggie Bush and getting his Heisman back?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, you still lagging, bro.
That should be good.
Okay. Did you hear about Reggie Bush and him getting his Heisman back?
Sorry. What?
Did you hear about
Reggie
Reggie
Bush
Bush?
getting his Heisman back?
Yes.
Uh, no, I did not. I didn't hear it.
Okay. What are your thoughts on it? He was a bit too young to see Bush, I believe.
Uh, Obviously, Reggie Bush had a legendary career. Obviously, he had a great career on the Saints. As a running back, as a player, he was a really good running back, and I think he deserves his Heisman, especially for what he did in college and in the NFL. So,
All right. Coach, do you think the Fab Five should get their banners back because Reggie Bush got his Heisman back?
I mean, it's up at the end of the day. It's up to NCAA for basketball, but I say I wouldn't. Would I be opposed to it? Yes, I wouldn't mind for the Fab Five, to get their banners back and stuff like that, man. I mean, like they were great. That was probably the best starting five that you probably will ever see in college basketball, put together. So yeah, I would be opposed to it if they got it back.
All right. And I gotta ask all three of y'all this: the newer guys that just joined, Coach PSP Aiden. We'll start with you, PSP. What are you looking most forward to in the NFL draft right about now?
Well, outside of my Commanders, because we gotta make a serious decision on who we gonna draft with the number 2 pick, either Jaden Daniels or Drake May. I've said it before. I would rather go with Drake May because I just think his game is more transferable to the NFL level. And again, I'm still concerned about Jaden Daniels' size at 210. As you always say, champ, quarterback can't throw behind his back. And Washington last year, they did a horrendous job protecting Sam Howell. And a lot of mobile quarterbacks, they do run themselves in a lot of sacks. And if I have concerns or doubts with Sam Howell being behind that O line last year, why am I supposed to think Jaden Daniels there is going to be any better? And Sam Howell is a legit 220, 225. Jaden Daniels is 210. Now, if you want to tell me he still has to improve or develop his man body, okay, fine. I'll give you that. For me, with Jaden Daniels, it's kind of like potential upside. The upside is there, but I'm afraid this is going to be RG3 all over again, man. We're going to draft another quarterback who had a great Heisman year, who's going to end up being a top pick in the draft. He's going to show you some flashes of what he could be, but at the end of the day, it's not going to work out in the long term. I want to see what the Chargers could do because, again, Justin Herbert, Jim Harbaugh, what are they going to do? Are they going to get Marvin Harrison? I believe that the Cardinals are going to take him. And if they take him, you have to get Brock Bowers. You have to get somebody for Justin Herbert because Keaton Allen is gone. Mike Williams is gone. Austin Eckler is gone. So you got to give somebody for Justin Herbert to work with. When I look at the Falcons, you got to get yourself a defensive end. I mean, champ, you've been I told you about Montez Sweat. I'm gonna keep on bringing this up to you till the cows come home. I told you should have went with Montez Sweat. I told you don't go with Chase Young because of the durability history. Montez Sweat proved and had a big time year. Matter of fact, you even tried to steal Deron Payne from us. Unfortunately, for Washington, that didn't end up happening.
No, indeed not.
Um, the Bills. That's to me the team because Stephon Diggs is gone now. What is Josh Allen going to be without Stephon Diggs? He's still one of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL. But are we sure about the Bills? And now with the Zach Wilson trade, I don't believe Zach Wilson is going to be anything in Denver. He's going to be at best a backup. And we saw how the way Sean Payton went after Russell Wilson. How is Zach Wilson going to handle that? And I think for Denver, they're going to find a way to get Bo Nix. Either the Jets or the Broncos, they're going to have to get a quarterback because Aaron Rodgers is 40 years old. He'll be 41 in December and coming off the ruptured Achilles. And then on top of that, when you look at Denver, who do they have at quarterback? I mean, hell, champ, you have a better chance of being quarterback.
They got Zach Wilson. They got Zach Man Wilson. What are you talking about?
Can I say something about that? PSP, can I say something about that?
Go ahead.
I think that Zach Wilson he had like by far one of the worst O-lines ever. I mean, his head coach was a defensive coordinator with San Francisco. I mean, Sean Payton has by far either the best or almost the best coaches in the NFL. He has the best offensive mind in the league, one of them. But I think that, I don't know, man. I think that Zach Wilson, this is his last shot. This is his second chance. If he screws this up, he's done. But I'm with you, PSP, but at the same time, it's just, this is Zach Wilson's last shot. I mean, he has the weapons. He has his running backs. His O-line is top. His O-line, offensive line is top 10. I mean, I'm just saying, anything can happen with Zach Wilson. Let's just see what he could do here with Sean Payton and with the Denver Broncos.
It's ironic to me Denver goes from Wilson to Wilson. You see Wilson to Wilson?
Yeah, Wilson to Wilson, Rodgers to Rodgers. I mean, well, hide your mothers in Denver here, boys. Hide your mothers in Denver.
Bro, why you had to do that?
I do want to add.
You just got to take it.
Champ, I'm sorry, Champ. I'm sorry.
Oh, boy.
I do want to kind of add to what Harrison was saying about Zach.
Go ahead, Flash. My bad.
It's all good. He showed something during that game against Kansas City. Right after Rodgers got hurt.
His best game
is by far his best game in his whole career. I also think that, and I think even I can't remember if the Jets head coach said it, but he was supposed to sit behind Rodgers and learn. And apparently, when he was learning from Rodgers, he was just soaking it up like a sponge. So, and he was starting to be the good soldier. There's something there. Now, whether he can harness that and actually turn it in and be a productive quarterback or not. But the kid's not afraid. The kid went against, was put in an impossible spot after Rodgers got hurt. And then went one-on-one with Mahomes and almost pulled it off. And made big throws and big spots so I'm kind of on Harrison where it's like it's a joke. It's funny that Denver basically that's what they have right now. Now I'm sure they'll draft somebody, but it's not. He wouldn't be the first round quarterback that's kind of like busted out and then gone somewhere else and kind of rebuilt himself into something respectable. So
But here's the thing, though. If we say that, then we're gonna have to put more heat on Sean Payton. At some point in time, we're gonna have to start putting more heat on Sean Payton because he talked about before he took the head coach. He talked about how bad of a job Nathaniel Hackett did early on in the season. He was doing a horrendous job, especially with the defense. Now with the defense getting a little bit better, and then when you look at Zach Wilson, and speaking of Mahomes. The reason why he was drafted with the number 2 overall pick was because of the year that he had at BYU, but in large part because of that pro day and how some of those scouts were amazed with some of those throws he was making inside and outside the pocket. So with Zach Wilson, I just don't see him handling with Sean Payton because we saw how Sean Payton treated Russell Wilson. How is Zach Wilson going to handle those types of circumstances? Now, in fairness to Champ, he did bring up Zach Wilson's maturity last season, how Zach Wilson took some level of accountability. But in that division, we still know it's going to be Patrick Mahomes in that division and the Kansas City Chiefs. We still believe that Justin Herbert is still the second best quarterback without question by far in that division. I don't even want to talk about the Chargers unless they move to San Diego and they go back to those old uniforms. Denver, they're probably going to finish last place.
Yeah, but I don't think anybody's expecting them to be the best team in the division. I mean, that's Mahomes' division basically until he retires. Like, so I don't.
But do you see it as a rejuvenation for Zach Wilson?
It could be, and I think you're kind of comparing apples to oranges when you're comparing Russell Wilson and his awkwardness, for lack of a better term, compared to Zach Wilson, who is a young, unproven kid who showed something, where coaches like Sean Payton want to mold somebody that's moldable. There's moldability, if that's even a word, with Zach Wilson. There wasn't with Russell. Like, Russ is who he is. He's going to be the same quarterback he was when he came out as when he retires. The problem is that, like, his body's not going to hold up to what he's been doing for the last, 10, 12, 13 years. But the reason why there's a little bit better of a chance is because Zach Wilson's got moldability. And I think that will be reactive better with Sean Payton than anything else. So
or the fact that Russell
will happen,
or the fact that Sean Payton at first wasn't all in on Russell Wilson.
I don't think he was either. At that price tag, I wouldn't have been either. I don't think anybody should have been. I think at that price tag, at maybe a third of that, sure, but I don't. He wasn't. I think he wants. Here's the other thing with Denver. They have the opportunity to still draft somebody. They're at least a year or so away from really competing with Kansas City. It's going to take a year for whoever they get, whether it be a rookie or Zach Wilson, to develop anything. This is really and this is kind of the limbo they've been in for the past, basically since Peyton Manning retired. It's been they find a quarterback. So maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But at this point, they're like the NBA team that kind of hovers around and just squeaks into the 8th seed and can't get a lottery pick. And like they're not good enough to go get that top star, but they're not bad enough to tank to go get that hot. So it's
like Chicago for an example.
What?
Like the Bulls for an example.
Like the Bulls, like how the Bulls have been since basically Rose got hurt. Yeah, I think there's potential. Would I put like a couple paychecks on it? No, probably not. But I think it's there. I mean, everybody watched that. I don't know if it's Sunday night or Monday night game, and there's something there. Now, whether Sean Payton can channel that, who knows?
Coach, gotta ask you, man, what you looking forward to in the draft, bro?
Well, the quarterback situation. You're gonna have at least 4 going in about the first round, including it'll be interesting to see what Michael Penix will end up at, where he will end up at. Like I say, you already know who the top. I believe is, you at least have the top 3 coming off the board. Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams. But the key for me, where does Michael Penix fall to? Where will he end up at? Oakland seems like a good spot. And I forgot you got McCarthy. So that's 5 first-round quarterbacks that potentially could be going in. Oh, buddy said up there. You have the receiver class. You got third round, second round wide receivers that could easily be probably first end of mid-first rounders. But again, Adonai Mitchell could easily turn into something. A kid that can run all the routes. Xavier Worthy with his 4.2 speed can end up on some type of team that can harness his game a little bit more, even though he does have drop issues, but that's due to the broken risk he did have in college, really. So this draft class for the wide receivers is just so deep, man. This is probably the deepest wide
Chiefs may
receiver
take
draft class, I have seen. But if the Chiefs take him, that would probably be a problem right there. That would be scary to see that 4.2 speed going with Patrick Mahomes. But at the quarterback position, you have 5 quarterbacks that at least going in the first round. But I want to be interested to see what Michael Penix does end up at.
Harrison,
Yeah.
what are you looking forward to about the NFL draft?
Oh, I already said that.
Oh shit! I mean, shoot, my bad. PRL.
Isn't it interesting though that JJ McCarthy's been getting a lot of draft buzz lately?
I think
Yes.
he's a national champion. It's not surprising that you're gonna, and his coach just made it to the league. So it's not surprising to me that your coach is coming to the league and they're trying to build you up like you're the next Tom Brady or at least the next Elvis Gerback coming out of Michigan in order to potentially go with your coach. Don't be surprised if tomorrow you start hearing whispers about, Justin Herbert getting traded because, people are going to start.
No.
Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised.
No.
Don't go.
Hold up, can I?
There's hot takes, and then they're sitting on the stove, champ. I'm just saying.
I mean, look, I'm going to quote my main man PSP. Outside of the city and Jim Harbaugh, what reason does Justin Herbert has to stay in the city in that city? What reason does he have to stay in there?
Why would you go if you're Jim Harbaugh? Why would you go to the NFL at that point, anyways?
I mean,
if you're Harbaugh, you look at it. This is the best quarterback you've had since Andrew Luck.
That's what I'm saying.
But
can I just say one thing?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I just feel like, man, here's the thing about this, but I feel like you guys can hate on me on this. But whoever goes to the Patriots, they are going to have like a Bryce Young type of year. I'm going to say this right now. Whoever goes to the Patriots, they're screwed for their 1 year. I'm just going to say that right now. I'm not going to say they're going to be a bust yet, but I just think they might struggle. And I know you're a Patriots fan, and I'm sorry.
No, it's why I don't want them to pick a quarterback. I want them to pick Marvin Harrison or trade back.
Would you settle for Joe Alt?
With who?
Joe Alt from Notre Dame.
From Notre Dame. You can't go wrong, Flash, with an old lineman.
No, and they need it desperately. I just look at it this way. I want them to pick Harrison, but this draft class is so deep in wide receiver. What they really should do with all the holes they have on offense is trade back. And because I am scared to death is if they go and pick JJ McCarthy at 3. Oh my God. Going into the draft, I wanted them to pick Harrison at 3 and then like maybe trade up into the late first and grab McCarthy. That's what I wanted. But
in fairness to my man, I'm sorry, Flash. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna finish. I'm scared to death of them picking May or Daniels, and he has nothing to work with, and he doesn't. He wouldn't. There's no O-line. There's no wide receivers. There's, Hunter Henry and his one leg, and no back. I just
the only good back that they have is Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah, and they barely played him last year, so it's like I don't.
They should. He do you know how good he is? And hold on.
I know.
Finally made an appearance on my show.
I know. I'm literally what they should do is they either. I mean, the rumor lately has been them trading back with Minnesota. Look, grape and pillage Minnesota's draft picks and take all of them what they're worth so they can pull up and get a quarterback and then get a wide receiver, get an O lineman, get pieces if you want to draft Penix in the second round, I don't know. I don't like guys with knee problems already. There's two big things that are big red flags to me when it comes to prospects coming out. No knees, and they have an eating problem or a weight problem. Those are huge red flags. I always look at this like knees are just knees. If you don't have, it's why every NFL player says, I don't care if you knock me in the head 1,000 times, just don't go at my knees.
Okay, here's my thing, Flash. If you're unsure on quarterback, would you wait till next year?
Yes.
Because in 2025, the only top quarterback prospects in 2025's NFL draft are Shador from Colorado. There's Drew Allard from Penn State. There's Quinn Ewers from Texas. I mean, there's a lot of other quarterbacks. Help me if I'm wrong, Chad. Maybe Carson from your.
I think Carson a first rounder.
There's guys, and there's always a couple prospects that all of a sudden come out of nowhere too.
Right.
It's not that I'm unsure of the prospects. If they pick May or Daniels and sit them all year, fine. Okay. Then I can deal. Then I can go, all right, like it's what it is. I'm a firm believer now in the aspect of watching a guy sit for a year. Unless you're.
And just because you sit, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a terrible thing. I mean,
it's not.
Patrick Mahomes sat for a year behind Alex Smith.
Aaron Rodgers. Jordan Love.
So there's nothing wrong with that. Carson Palmer, his first year, he didn't actually start in his rookie year.
Steve Young.
So like Lamar Jackson didn't start until midway, I think, in his rookie season. So just because you sit someone doesn't necessarily mean that they can't be productive on the NFL level. It's just not their time yet. There's still a lot of things they have to learn that comes along with it. I think for the Patriots, if you really want to go for an upside, something that you can hold on and lean towards to, Flash, it seems like you're going for a more unconventional route, because when's the last time that the Patriots have drafted a wide receiver in the first round? You got to go back to N'Keal Harry back in 2000.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Is it unconventional? Yeah, but Bill isn't there anymore, and Bill I could not pick a wide receiver to save his life unless it was a quarterback. So and he turned him into a wide receiver. I don't. Every wide receiver he ever picked, I when I was watching the draft, just made me literally want to put my face through a wall. See how that changes. If they go quarterback, I'd actually rather them go Daniels than May.
Okay.
Because of the athleticism, the dual threat that he is.
Yeah, and I think they kind of want to change it up in New England, possibly. I be totally off. I mean, there's rumors that they'll draft McCarthy at 3, which I would just look. I like McCarthy, just not at 3.
I mean, hold up, PSP. I mean, Drake May and Terry McLaurin.
I would love that. I told you before, I would rather want Drake May in Washington than Jaden Daniels, because I'm concerned about Jaden Daniels' size. I said Jaden Daniels kind of reminds me in some ways like RG3 in terms of the size. I thought I had a future with with RG3, but that was before injuries. Since the Haloti Ngata hit and then the playoff game against Seattle, injuries derailed his career. Had it not been for injuries, RG3, in my opinion, probably would have been Lamar Jackson, just with a bigger arm and a deep ball. Because RG3, people forget how athletic, how fast he was, how electric he was during his rookie year and when he won the Heisman Trophy. Yeah. It's just that injuries derailed his career, and on top of that, he wanted to change the offense. From what it was reported, he and his father, they spoke to Washington, and they said, we're done. We don't want to run the spread offense anymore. The offense that made him a star at Baylor and as a rookie. He wanted to be a prototypical passer, pocket passer, like Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
And how do you go from the spread offense to a pro-style offense just like that in a short period of time?
Not to mention the West Coast offense takes at least 2 to 3 years to pick up on all the language and everything of that nature anyway. And
Right.
it took that long for Steve Young and Joe Montana. So for
And
a
he had
quarterback
Mike,
go
and
ahead.
he had Mike Shanahan. Mike Shanahan did a very good job coaching RG3 during that season. And then they moved on from him and they ended up getting Kirk Cousins, who was actually better than RG3 because Kirk Cousins was giving us consistent seasons of over 4,000 yards. But to your point, Champ, about the West Coast offense, it took longer. I just
Yeah.
think for Washington, you are in a new ownership. The Dan Snyder days are gone. This is Josh Harris and Magic Johnson. You better get this one right. And with the number 2 overall pick, if we had the number 1 overall pick, I would have taken Caleb. That would have been more of an ideal fit for him because of Cliff Kingsbury, their relationship going back to their last year at USC. On top of that, Caleb Williams, even though they play in Landover, Maryland, and their headquarters are in Ashburn, Virginia, Caleb Williams is a native DC. So what better way to sell Commanders fans than having the hometown kid? But with the number 2 overall pick, I would just rather take Drake May. He has the bigger size. He has the bigger arm. And by the way, he's been getting a lot of flack for his performance last season. Some noticeable starters were not there the year before. So I think it's kind of unfair to use that against Drake May. I still think Drake May is a good enough quarterback in the NFL. I'm just unsure with Jaden Daniels. The talent is there, but the size. How am I going to be if I'm Washington for the next 10 to 15 years with Jaden Daniels' size?
That's a good point. And that leads me to my next topic, our next topic. Everybody's going around the room talking about teams drafting, who other teams should draft. But I want to know one thing and one thing only. Who should your team draft? And we will start with you, Aiden. Who do you want your team to draft?
I honestly don't know, man. Like we have like one of the most. I think we have like the lowest pick in the first round. Not obviously the lowest, but I don't know who we get here. But I obviously kind of want an O lineman or maybe a receiver, maybe or maybe something on defense because all the players that we lost from free agency are gonna have to get put back up, especially with all the players that we lost, like J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, OBJ, and a lot more players that were on defense we lost, and they helped make that playoff team get to that conference championship last year. And all I would like to see is maybe an offensive lineman or a wide receiver to help us out on offense or get some defense on the defensive side of things because we lost a lot of stuff, but now we got to rebuild, start building back up, and hopefully get to the playoffs this year.
All right. Coach.
So first of all, it just depends on who's on the board. I really want this guy. I think our linebacking trio will be awesome if we get him, but I got a feeling he's not going to be there. Edgerrin Cooper, the linebacker out of Texas A&M. He will be nice to compare with Christian Harris, who had a great season last year, and along with Aziz Asher. But other than that, it's a lot of receivers that's going to be on the board at that time. So
How many receivers do y'all need, Coach?
One more receiver could definitely help because one more receiver could definitely help. I think we need probably about one more wide receiver. For tight end is that we take them, but receiver position, if Keon Coleman is there, I'm taking Keon Coleman. Want to get a linebacker. If Edgerrin Cooper is there, I would definitely be looking see if the Texans will take him. But I think they're gonna really target receiver really hard. That's if Keon Coleman or Xavier Worthy, if any one of those guys is there, you take them off the board. If you're the Texans, you take them off the board.
All right. Frank, who do you think our Atlanta Falcons should take, brother? Let's hear it.
I think, me personally, if I'm Terry Fontenot, I'm going edge. There's no getting around it. I'm going edge. So that's basically, so you're looking at either like a Dallas Turner or you're looking at a Laiatu Latu. Man, honestly though, so many people are talking about Dallas Turner, but I'm really liking what Latu brings to the table as far as his pass rusher, being able to, his ability to bend, his ability to get around the offensive tackle, just what he brings to the table. Now, I do like Dallas Turner from the standpoint that Alabama did ask him to drop in coverage quite a bit, and he did well in drop coverage, and he was still able to get as many sacks as he got. So I think either Turner, or if it's Dallas Turner or it's Latu, I'm not mad at it. We need an edge. Either one of those I'm good with. Like, I remember the last podcast we had, I brought up the idea of, because we signed Kirk Cousins, I know some people are like, why would you take another skill player? But I mean, you have to look at the idea of trying to get the full ceiling out of the Atlanta Falcons offense. So do you draft a Rome Odunze? Do you draft Malik Neighbors if he's there as if you want to get the full ceiling out of the offense? I mean, Drake London is growing to be a really good receiver, but I mean, good God. I mean, after him, Ray McLeod.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, you need, if you're gonna, I wouldn't take a wide receiver in the first round, and I think you have a question about about sleepers coming up late. When we get to that, I have a guy we should definitely take I want to say in between, maybe like 2 or like it would be a perfect situation round 3, but I'm hoping we take, if I'm Atlanta, if I'm Fontenot, I'm drafting Latu, because I'm starting to hear the rumblings now that Latu's probably gonna be the guy. I would not have no beef with that.
Oh man, I'll get to my turn, but I gotta let my main man PSP go first.
Shit, we need everybody. We need offensive linemen. We need defensive linemen. We need cornerbacks. Hell, in my case, I need DiSerrano. I need Hennessy. I need Juan. I need it all. How much? I mean, Champ will not stop when he says quarterback can't throw behind his back. If we ended up having the 3rd overall pick in the draft, I would have gone with an offensive lineman. Now you traded Sam Howell, so I have no other choice but to get a quarterback. And of course, they're going to draft a quarterback because of new ownership, of course. And look, we saved up a ton of money in cap space, but what did we really do in free agency? Did we get anybody? No, because again, no one is still taking the Commanders seriously, because after all, we're still a laughingstock. So we need prayer. We need it all. We need Hennessy. We need Bible. We need Bible studies. We need it all. We need Jesus.
We need Lord Jesus.
Hey. We need Hennessy. We need a prayer.
The reason why I always say the quarterback can't throw on his back. And BRF, you can attest to this. I cannot tell you how many seasons that the Atlanta Falcons suffered because we didn't have no good offensive linemen. And every time you looked around, Chris Miller and one of our quarterbacks was on their back. That's where I get that term from. The quarterback can't throw on his back, because those guys were on their backs constantly. I mean, I cannot tell you how many times Chris Miller got sacked in that 97 season.
I agree with that, but also they did suck too.
Chris Miller, if he hadn't hurt his knee, he'd have, still.
But Champ has been right. Look at the Texans with David Carr at one point.
I mean, he got sacked. That goes back to my original point. Quarterback can't throw on his back. He got sacked 100 times in his first 2 seasons. He got sacked 100 times.
You're definitely not wrong. You are not wrong.
So, I mean, you can, like Jim Harbaugh said, that is the only position where how good the other members of your team are is not dependent. You're not dependent upon how good the rest of your team is, but the rest of your team is dependent upon you on how good you are. But that's why I'm always being on offensive linemen. But it's not my turn right about now. It is Harrison's turn. What should your Carolina Panthers do in the draft, brother?
We need Jesus too.
I was gonna say, like,
I don't know, man. I mean, we don't have a first round pick because we traded to Chicago, and look where we are now. They age well like milk, expired milk. But at the same time, I mean, we do have 2 high seconds in the second round. I'm more excited on day 2, more excited on day 1. I mean, champ, undisputed world champ. I want your boy from Georgia though. I want McConkey. I really want McConkey really bad from Georgia.
Oh man, why you gotta steal McConkey from us, man?
But I mean, I love his separation. He reminds me. Shane, let me ask you a question. What is the NFL player right now that he reminds you of?
I mean, I put him right now. He's kind of short. He's only like 6 feet. I think he'd be a hell of a slot receiver. He reminds me of Flash. You can attest to this. He reminds me of Jules a little bit, Julian Edelman a little bit, and a mixture of Wes Welker, except he's faster than both of them. So that's what he reminds me.
Beasley?
I like, as far as current players, Ladd McConkey, to me, as far as current players, with his route running, he's a faster Hunter Renfrow.
Yeah.
I was thinking Cooper Kupp though a little bit, but I might be tripping.
Yeah, you is tripping about that, bro. I can't.
You couldn't go wrong with Cole Beasley.
Cole Beasley.
No, he was a very good route runner during his days with the Cowboys.
Yeah, and he made all pro when he was in Buffalo.
Yep.
I mean,
and also, I wouldn't mind having Xavier from South Carolina. I mean, the thing about it though, because I'm scared that he might drop some passes. So that's the thing about it. But I know he's tall. He got that Southern charm in South Carolina. We all know that. You never seen those press conferences. I mean, he's got that Southern charm. But I'm gonna say this right now. I feel like the cornerbacks are going to be underrated in this draft. I'm gonna say this right now. Who's the cornerback from Michigan? What's this dude's name?
I know who you're talking about.
I think he's going to be good this year, and also the corner from Clemson. Was it Nate Wiggins?
Nate Wiggins, yes.
I think that dude's going to be a stud too, but the linebackers are going to be nasty though. That's the thing about it. But who's the guy from Texas? I haven't been paying attention. Who's the guy from Texas A&M?
Damn, I can't pronounce the guy's name.
But you know what I'm talking about, right?
I know who you're talking about. I just can't pronounce his name.
I think that dude's going to be a stud too if he comes to us. But yeah, I'm excited, but at the same time, like I said at the beginning, I'm a little bit nervous about this ownership this year, bro. But yeah, but I'm excited though.
Flash,
Savior of the universe.
Who should your New England Patriots draft, bro?
Well, I kind of touched on it a little bit. So I got 2 teams. I'm a Wisconsin boy, so and a Packer season ticket holder. So I'm a Packer and Patriots fan. I with the Patriots, I kind of touched on it a little bit before. I do believe they should pick Harrison at 3 or trade back. If they pick a quarterback, whether it be May or Daniels that falls to them, I just pray he sits for a year. I would be okay with the old lineman from Notre Dame. I'm okay with that too because they need everything on offense. They need Jesus on offense. So Jesus has got a lot of work to do for our teams. Apparently,
he got to lay a lot of hands this year.
Yes, he does. I mean, they say God doesn't give with both hands, but apparently he's got to give with like a lot of hands because we're all very needy. As for the Packers, really, it's the back end of their secondary that I kind of want them to go for. It kind of on defense. On offense, they can go O-line. That would be a big thing to protect Love, but they're kind of in a luxury spot in a way because they're
They don't need a lot of wide receivers in this draft, or in fact, they don't need wide receivers at all. So they're in a really good spot to kind of pick and choose like the best available player in some aspects. So I'm okay with the kind of in whatever direction they actually go. But it's New England's the big draft. If they pick McCarthy at 3, I might take a sabbatical from the podcast for the next like month or two just to cry. And avoid the ridicule and punishment, because and I like McCarthy. I just not at 3. So, but I mean, they're saying he's going to get past the Raiders at 13. So, I fear McCarthy at 3. I just fear it. I fear that scares me. It does. That just scares me. And that's all I got really to say. I kind of said my piece a little bit while ago when we were talking before. So
for me, man, Atlanta, Dallas Turner. Okay? Don't mess this up. Either that or draft a wide receiver from University of Washington. I wouldn't mind you doing that. But, hey, Dallas Turner. All right? Hey.
They have to draft the backup quarterback, champ.
Dallas Turner. Dallas Turner.
I have an idea
reason
for
why he doesn't want to draft a backup quarterback is because he's still demoralized from Desmond Ridder last year. That's why.
Probably so, but like I said, hey man, we need some help on that edge. We had a hell of a defense without the edge this year, and so for us to get to where we need to be, we need an edge rusher. And look, man, I'm going to paint the same narrative that my guy Louise paints. Look out for Jesse Bates as a potential defensive player of the year. I'm going to join that narrative.
He is definitely a dark horse for that award. He should be a favorite for that award going into this year.
Yeah, look out for him as a favorite for defensive player of the year. I'm going to play that. I'm going to beat the drum for that narrative. But moving on, outside of the quarterbacks, who will be an immediate impact player? We will start with the Flash.
Well, I think the obvious one is Marvin Harrison. I mean, that's the easy one. In fact, I think either the top 2 wide receivers to me are the big impact players, depending on where they go or who they go to. We've kind of seen lately in years now, it used to take a while for young wide receivers to kind of catch on. And now with the change to kind of like a lot more spread offense in the NFL and a lot more simpler language and simpler reads, wide receivers are now making an early impact on teams. So I think between Harrison and Neighbors, I think those are the 2 big ones. I think depending on where they fall and who they go to, because look, if you give Marvin Harrison to Kyler Murray, that's like, that little dude's going to cook at that point.
Change your name to Saran because it's a wrap.
Yeah. So I think it's the 2 big wide receivers. To me, those are the 2 big non-game changing quarterbacks.
Harrison.
I mean, yeah, I agree with Flash. I think that Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be there, but I think Brock Bowers could be one, if I'm not mistaken. I think Brock Bowers, and also Malik Neighbors, and also some like Nate Wiggins Nate Wiggins, probably another one. I mean, yeah, everything with Flash that I agree.
PSP.
Brock Bowers, because I love what he can do as far as with his acceleration, his yak. You can also call some plays for him when he can run the football in reverses. Brian Thomas Jr. from LSU. People have been paying a lot of attention to Malik Neighbors, and rightfully so. I do think that Brian Thomas could actually shock some people.
Isn't he a linebacker?
Brandon Thomas.
Brian
Brian, no,
Thomas.
no, he's
Brian.
wide receiver.
He's wide receiver.
Mellis-
LSU.
Oh, my fault.
All right, Coach. Coach, you there? You on mute, Coach?
I'm gonna go with Andon Mitchell. I'm gonna go with Andon Mitchell from the Buffalo Bills. He run every route. He knows the whole route tree, and I really like him. His size, how tall he is, and he can go up and get every jump ball. So I'm gonna go with Andon Mitchell, and I think a perfect spot is Buffalo.
Okay, then. Thanks for that, Coach. Frank.
I think there are quite a few players outside of the quarterbacks that can make immediate impacts. I mean, you obviously mentioned the top two wideouts and Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors. Champ. Falcons fans. We need an edge. I think Latu and Turner are both going to be immediate impact players. I think Brock Bowers is going to be an immediate player. I think there's a guy under the radar who's starting to really kind of maybe not generate a lot, but I think it's going to segue into our sleepers. I was doing some research and I saw some tape on him earlier. I really like what Troy Franklin brings to the table out of Oregon. I really do. 6'3". He ran a 4.41 at the combine. He's a good route runner. He obviously can take the top off of defense. His stop and go at his size is really good for a guy his size. And just I really liked what I see. I really like what I see out of Troy Franklin. I think he's an under the radar guy that can be an immediate impact guy. If I have to go with one, I think that's going to start from day one and actually just kill it on all ends. If I had to pick one, if I had to just single out one, probably Marvin Harrison Jr. If I had to just single out just one.
Okay. For me, I'm going to say, look, got to go with Marvin Harrison Jr. Look out. And this is going to fall into the sleepers, the late round sleepers. Look out for Blake Corum. Look out for Blake
from
Corum.
Michigan, the running back.
Look out for Blake Corum.
Cowboys use him.
Yeah, one of the more bruising. He's a bruiser as a running back. He got the speed. I know we had to contain him when we played him last year in the playoffs before Stetson Bennett and the company had departed, but luckily, he didn't give us any fits. So, but
Dallas, but I'm with y'all. Y'all talking about the Dallas Cowboys a lot with him, and I think he would be the perfect fit for their offense. He would be perfect. I would fuss at the Dallas front office if they don't draft him, like straight up.
Yes, Blake Corum is definitely, and like I said, that falls into my sleeper category. So, and that note, that is my sleeper. So I will go around the room and we will go back to you, BRF. Who you think is a late round sleeper at this point?
Well, I said like before we started, I said I have one on offense and I have one on defense. I gave you my one on offense. It's Troy Franklin out of Oregon. I think if I'm the Atlanta Falcons and he's there in the third round, I take him, no question. Mm-hmm. I take him, no question. You put him next to Drake London. You got two tall dudes. You have Drake London, who's not as fast, but he's a good possession receiver and can just do his thing in the middle of the field on certain type of routes. And then you got a guy like Troy Franklin who could take the top off. If I'm Atlanta and he's there in the third round, I snag him and I don't think twice. I don't think twice about it. I think he immediately comes in. He could be the number 2 to Drake and let them go to work. I think Kirk Cousins would love having a guy like Troy Franklin to throw to over the top, as good of a deep ball thrower as he is. So he's my guy on offense. My guy on defense, I don't think a lot of people are talking about him. He's a linebacker out of North Carolina. His name is Cedric Gray. I like him. I like him a lot. I saw some tape. He stats was like he had like 121 tackles, like 11 for loss. He had 5 sacks. He's 6'3", 235. He's like the prototypical, I guess if you want to say 4'3", weak side outside linebacker, if you want to say that. He's got good athleticism sideline to sideline. He's a good tackler. He's actually got good on-ball skills. Can cover tight ends, can cover running backs out the backfield. He's actually got some athleticism to do that. I think in the right situation, in a 4-3 scheme, in the right situation, I think Cedric Gray can be a steal and can make a quick impact. So if I had a sleeper on offense and defense, those would be my 2.
Coach.
My late round sleeper. I'm gonna go with Luke McCaffrey from Rice, wide receiver from Rice, late round sleeper. Wide receiver, like I said, this receiving core class is so deep. So Luke McCaffrey is my pick from Rice, and then I'm gonna go with an interesting running back out of Louisville, Gerard Jordan. I think he can on a very good, well coached team. I think he can be a sleeper for this draft as well. So Gerard Jordan and Luke McCaffrey are my picks, are my sleepers, late round sleepers.
PSP.
Okay, I only have one. I will go with the tight end from Illinois, Tip Reedman, 6'5", 271, ran a 4.6. So he already has size. So if I'm Washington, I need a tight end for me to have, because last year we could have drafted Darnell Washington, but we decided not to. Logan Thomas is gone now. So you might as well get a tight end, get somebody in order for Jaden Daniels or Drake May to throw the football to. And of course, I would go with O-lineman, Travis Clayton from Basungatoke RFC, 6'7", 301 pounds. He ran a 4.82 and plus a 35-inch arm length. So I think, and he also has unique background. He's a former rugby player and boxer as well. So for an old lineman, I love that. And I think it's a great way to, whatever background that you have, hey, we'll take it. We can build on something with that if you're Washington.
Hey, that's a pure athlete right there. And that wouldn't be the first time that team with as far as the Washington Commanders were converting a lot of guys from position. Remember Clint Didier, he was one of the guys that they converted from a defensive line, from an offensive line to a defensive line. I think it was the other way around, but hey.
Remember Antoine Randall L?
Yes, Antoine Randall L as well came from quarterback in order to be a solid slot wide receiver. Excuse me.
Logan Thomas, before he was a tight end, he used to play quarterback at Virginia Tech.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, a lot of guys and they were successful. Not just guys that they converted; they were successful guys that they converted. But I would be remiss if before Harrison went, I didn't give a shout out to Brandon from the block. Hell of a pod when we just left from the throwdown. Hey, check out the draft that we went through on that hell of a draft that we went through, man. Hey, shout out to Brandon from the block every Monday and Wednesday, man. Football on Monday, basketball on Wednesday. Hell of a show. Harrison.
Coach took mine. I was gonna say Luke McCaffrey. I think it's gonna be an absolute stud, whoever he goes to. But don't be surprised. Okay, so hear me out here. I'm thinking Spencer Rattler.
Yes.
I think Spencer Rattler is special. He's special. I think he's going to be a solid backup number 2. Yes, sir, PSV. I got you, my boy. I got you. You redeemed yourself with Baker Mayfield, and I accept that. But I'll say Spencer Rattler. I think that dude's going to be absolute dog this year. Whoever's going to be the backup for whatever team he's going to be.
Flash.
I got one real late sleeper that I really like just because I like guys that don't technically have a position. And he's an undersized linebacker out of Florida State, Kalen DeLoach. He is very undersized, but fast. It needs to fall with a team that has a really good defensive coaching. So, like, if he went to Pittsburgh or something like that, I think he could thrive. He's a little older, but that means he could be a little bit more mature. And I just think he's somebody that could be. I'm trying. Who was the? I can't think of the guy off the top of my head. He was a tweener linebacker safety for Arizona.
Adrian Wilson.
No, not Adrian Wilson. The guy after that is number 20.
Isaiah Simmons?
No.
Oh.
I think
20. Oh.
I can't remember. He was like this. He was like an undersized linebacker, so he was this tweener safety linebacker thing, just kind of roamed. And I think
Larry Wilson.
No, I don't know.
Way back in the day.
It wasn't long. It wasn't too long ago. But I just like guys that you can put in a position, or not in a position, but that can just make plays. And I think in the right team and the right scheme, he could make plays, especially with how many running quarterbacks there are now and how much spread offenses run in the NFL. I think guys like that are going to become, it's not a premium, but kind of like sneaky picks that all of a sudden teams are going to start looking at. So that's kind of my big sleeper pick.
Hey, gotta agree with Harrison, and look, gotta piggyback on him regarding Ladd McConkey, with him being one of the great route runners in this draft. So Spencer Rattler and Ladd McConkey. So we're gonna make this segment a quick segment, real quick, just one word and move on. Who is your too early rookie of the year? Too early rookie of the year. We'll start with Flash.
I'm going to say Marvin Harrison because I think he goes to Arizona, and I think he already has a quarterback in place there. Mm-hmm. So I think it's that. The only way one of the quarterbacks wins the rookie of the year, I think, or the only one that has a shot would be Caleb, because I think he'll start day one.
Harrison.
Why? Yeah, I'm either going with Caleb Williams or Marvin Harrison.
PSP.
I would like to see Caleb Williams win Rookie of the Year because, just like I said last year, that on Brandon's pod that I had CJ Stroud winning it, I want to see Caleb Williams winning it just to shut basically critics up who think he can't lead, he can't be the guy for them, especially in a city like Chicago, because Lord knows they haven't had quarterbacks. I mean, the best quarterback they've had since Jay Cutler. And it ain't much to brag about because Champ will bring up Jay Cutler is the younger version of Jeff George. And we all know who Jeff George was as a quarterback. So I would like to see Caleb Williams change Chicago.
And that's exactly who Jay Cutler reminds me of, Jeff George. And BRF, you know the misery that we had in Atlanta with Jeff George, especially him yelling at June Jones on the sideline back when the NFL was on TNT.
We got to quit saying that man's name. We got to quit saying that man's name and giving him notoriety, man. That's getting on my damn nerves, bro.
Never.
Oh God. Oh, the thought of Jeff George is just like.
Yeah.
That's how Chicago people felt about Jay Cutler.
I mean, at least you went to an NFC championship game. The only thing we went to is the toilet bowl. Hey, man, let me tell you something. I'm going to tell you something, man. Every time I watch the Falcons, I just say they just should have went to the bathroom and peed so they can say they did something in Fulton County Stadium that day. So, I mean, that's just how I look at it. But, Coach, who is your too early rookie of the year, Coach? Coach, you there?
Yeah, I'm going to my two early rookie of the years. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go with Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison. Caleb
All
Williams
right.
and Marvin Harrison Jr.
All right. BRF.
I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is in the best position to do it because a lot of times the receivers can't just come in, especially a guy his talent, and just kind of pick up the scheme and I don't want to say dominate off of the jump, but make a really quick, make a sudden impact and make a big impact. I
Mhm.
want to see Caleb Williams win it because Chicago has a sneaky wild card contending roster with what they've built. And I think Caleb Williams, if he gets the Chicago Bears to the playoffs, I think he can just cinch it, lock it up, just mail him the award if he gets to the Chicago Bears to the playoffs. But for this, I just think the opportunities are gonna be there for him. I'm going Marvin Harrison Jr.
Hey, I gotta agree. Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison. Now we all know this is around draft time, so you finna start hearing a hell of a lot of trade rumors. We didn't already start hearing Brandon Ayuk trade rumors, T. Higgins trade rumors, and even the greatest receiver in the league right about now, Justin Jefferson at this point. Which leads me to my next question. Which draft trade is more than likely to happen? Who is more than likely to get traded? Ayuk, Jefferson, or T. Higgins? We'll start with you, PSP.
I think more Ayuk because Jefferson, I think they're still going to keep him. Ayuk, look, he wants to go somewhere else and establish himself as a number one wide receiver. I think he is better than Debo as a pure route runner. I mean, he could run the route tree better than Debo, in my opinion. Debo is just better as far as like with Yak and as far as other situations that you put him in. I would like to see Brandon Ayuk go to. Let's see which team. Which team could he possibly go to? He needs to go to a team that is in desperate need of a true number one wide receiver. And
Chargers.
Chargers, I was kind of thinking more Jaguars as well because they need somebody for Trevor Lawrence to throw the football to, as well as Justin Herbert. I was also kind of thinking more. Maybe Saints, because again, I mean Derek Carr. Look, you stuck with him for a couple more years, and again that cap. Wait, I forgot that cap situation. So I would like to see Ayuk traded. T. Higgins is probably going to get traded. Justin Jefferson, they're not touching him. They're not. Minnesota is not going to think twice on trading him.
Coach.
You on mute, man.
My bad, y'all. Since PSP said Brandon Ayuk, I'm gonna go more Justin Jefferson. I think Justin Jefferson. Again, it was a rumor that he did turn down $33 million, but we don't know that for sure. But I think I can see some sense of frustration in Justin Jefferson when he's not really getting the ball. I can see some sense of frustration of him being really a diva. I think it's gonna be a short-lived career in Minnesota. I think I can more see him getting moved. But Brandon Ayuk, I think it's the obvious one. I think don't be surprised if you hear about him at the draft. He's probably will get moved. But I'm gonna say Justin Jefferson. I'm going to let him say Justin Jefferson. I can definitely see him getting moved.
I'm surprised we haven't talked about AJ Brown. He should be in this convo because of all the news.
I mean, the only reason that I didn't put him in there because I think that trade is going to happen after the draft, more so during the draft.
Why is he going to get traded?
Well, because he's been having problems all year with Jalen Hurts and the offensive scheme, and
that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah,
he's been acting a donkey all year. So
wasn't there reports that surfaced possibility him in New England?
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, I heard about that, but I I think the Patriot way, the way Bill Belichick used to do it, is kind of over at a certain point right now. But I don't think they're going to bring in a guy like that for a rookie quarterback just so they can poison him. That'll be a disaster because you're going to have to force feed him. And that's the last thing a rookie quarterback needs is to try to force feed Joe behind in order to satisfy your ego. He doesn't need that right about now. Get a young receiver in there so they can try to build some chemistry.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Frank?
I think the trade that's more than likely to happen is Ayuk, just because he wants to get paid like a number one, but San Francisco's not gonna let Debo go. I mean, they're not. I mean, if you gonna have them choose between Debo and Brandon Ayuk, even though I feel like Brandon Ayuk is the better pure wide receiver, they're taking Debo because Debo's the better playmaker. They're taking Debo. So I think Brandon Ayuk out of these three is the most likely to get traded. I don't think T. Higgins is going to get traded. I don't think he's going to get traded because apparently there's a report that came out that their defensive end Trey Hendrickson had requested a trade, and I think I saw something. The Bengals are like, nah, they're trying to win the Super Bowl, so I don't see them letting either one of them go. Because if they're trying to win, why are you letting either one of them go? If you're trying to contend for a Super Bowl, you don't let either one of them go. So I don't think T. Higgins is going to get traded. Justin Jefferson, I don't think he gets traded, but I can see the possibility where come up where he does get traded, like what Coach was talking about his frustrations, his frustrations with the offense that he showed at times. And he's arguably the best receiver in the league. So of course he wants to get paid like it. And is Minnesota going to be willing to, fork up that type of money for him? I mean, they would be crazy not to. But I mean, you know how teams work. You know how teams work these days. So
and not only that, he has no quarterback to work with now. Now that Kirk Cousins is gone, who does he have to throw the football to? T. Higgins, to your point, BRF. Didn't Jamar Chase exercise his 5th-year option? Didn't they pick up his 5th-year option on him?
I believe they did pick it up.
They did.
They picked it up.
Yeah, it was today.
Right. So if they picked up his 5th-year option, and if T. Higgins sees himself as a true number one wide receiver, you still think he's still going to stay in Cincinnati?
If they're, like I said, I think Cincinnati has a mindset of trying to win the Super Bowl this year. So why do you move him?
My only rebuttal to that is I mostly agree, except we're dealing with a very deep wide receiver draft here. And you look at Higgins, I don't think Jefferson gets moved until after the draft. I think everything is dependent on what Minnesota does at quarterback. If they're able
probably
to,
near training camp.
Yeah, because if they're able to trade up for one of the top flight quarterbacks, I think he stays. I think it's really that simple. I think if they can get a top flight quarterback in this draft, let's say they pull off a draft day trade with New England at 3, and I think that's the only team right now out of the top 3 that are willing to make a trade. I don't think Washington will trade out, and obviously Chicago is going to go with Caleb Williams. So I think if they do that, then I think Jefferson stays. If they don't have anything at quarterback going into this season, then you're going to basically see Jefferson saying, I'm out. Because I don't think he wants to go through another year without a quarterback in place at Minnesota, at least some semblance of hope. As for T. Higgins, he was my most to get traded. Or most likely. I do agree with BRF a little bit, but there's such a deep wide receiver draft that I think if you can get a draft pick or two, like let's say you can get a second round pick for Higgins or Ayuk, and you can draft one of these young guys, and then so you don't have to pay either one of these guys. That's how teams kind of operate now. So if any of the guys are going to go, it's going to be Higgins. Or I do believe Cincinnati's trying to win a Super Bowl, and so is San Francisco. But teams try to save money where they can. They're all about the rookie contracts, and if you can basically get a 1 or a 2 for one of these guys, why not? And then draft a wide receiver with your other first round draft pick and draft for a need at the other one. So it just kind of depends on what their mindset is, I guess.
Harrison?
Man. Wait, what was the question again?
Which
Who's
draft
more
trade is
likely
most
to
likely
trade?
to happen?
I was about to happen. Okay, yeah. I can see T. Higgins. We've been hearing about T. Higgins about come to Carolina about this. I mean, we've been hearing T. Higgins to Pittsburgh, Carolina. Who am I missing here?
You heard about him to Atlanta at one point.
You heard about it to Atlanta at one point.
No. You guys have Drake London. Relax.
No.
Yes, you guys.
T. Higgins has the same agent as Kyle Pitts as AJ Terrell. The rumors were there.
Okay. Listen, I don't know. We'll see, but you know what? Okay, hear me out here. What will happen if Justin Herbert gets traded to Minnesota?
Oh my God!
I like Champ's idea of Justin Allen going to Minnesota better.
Josh Allen, you mean?
Yeah. Or what did I say?
Justin
Allen.
My bad.
Players mess up.
Seems like Flash has been watching my podcast because that's what he's been getting a lot of flack. Champ's been getting a lot of flack on.
Who I've been getting killed on the internet about that one, brother. I have been called everything except the child of God about that.
But the idea is not crazy though.
I don't think it's. I think for a hot take, it's not a. I think it's a legit hot take. Is it likely to happen? Probably not.
But that's the thing. That's hot takes.
I mean, the Vikings might have a shot to win that division this year if they get Herbert. And Jefferson.
I just don't think anybody.
I think the NFC North is a lot loaded because we can't ignore Detroit.
Yeah.
Especially.
It's Dan Campbell.
Green Bay, Jordan Love. I mean, Jordan Love may look. Jordan Love with the roster, I would not be surprised if he wins the MVP this season.
He was the MVP like 10 games of the season.
I have him as my favorite to win the MVP.
Yeah, he should be. I think it's.
Hold on, you got Jordan Love PSP
for MVP, yes.
Oh, okay. I like that. Hey, no. I like that.
Yeah, I like that.
I 100% agree.
Him and CJ are my top 2 choices for the MVP. Because I think C.J. Stroud, I think he's definitely going to take the next step up with the Stephon Diggs. Not just because of the Stephon Diggs trade, but you look at all the moves that Houston has made. Now, I am concerned about their schedule for the upcoming season, which is going to be difficult. But I think they can handle it. I've said it before with C.J., man. He has that poise. Dante will tell you, he and we had conversations long before about C.J. on my pod. I think he the truth. He's that dog in him. Remember, Champ, he gave you 3 heart attacks in that game. So,
that was a brutal game. They came within an eyelash of beating us too, but man, by the grace and by faith, that didn't happen that field goal because man.
Yeah.
Desmond Ritter before he really started to suck.
Back where I was saying, I think Ayuk is 50-50. I think T. Higgins might get traded in this draft, but Justin Jefferson, I don't think so. I think he's staying.
Coach,
what was the topic?
Who's most likely to get traded?
I said Justin Jefferson.
Okay. BRF, did you go?
Yeah, I went with Ayuk to be the most likely.
Flash.
I think it's going to be Ayuk. I think it's going to be Ayuk. I as much as I want to say Higgins, I literally was coming into the show saying it was going to be Higgins, but I think it's going to be Ayuk.
Hey, Flash, if you want Ayuk, Patriots wouldn't mind having him.
There have been those rumors. They need something, but I don't. Here's the thing:
The one thing with New England is I know they went after Calvin Ridley and they missed out for whatever reason, whether Calvin Ridley wanted more money or less tax dollars. He ended up going to Tennessee, right?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, they need they do need wide receiver talent. I'm not the biggest T. Higgins fan as a number one. I think he's like a top tier 2. The only thing I don't like trading for guys, unless it's a guy like Justin Harrison, is that you have to give up picks and pay the guy. And I never like doing that. I'd always
Jefferson.
Yeah, if it's a guy like Jefferson, yes, then I will trade the picks and pay the guy. But you got to be a quarterback or like a next generation talent, like how he is. Because I'd rather go with the young guy. It's like why spending money on a running back to me is silly. Because you can just go into a draft and pick a young guy in any round almost.
Well, everyone should know that, Flash. I mean, Houston was dumb enough to trade DeAndre Hopkins for basically a ham sandwich and chips.
I know.
Oh, welcome to my life. I signed Miles Sanders for 4 years.
If San Francisco wants to give him up for like a bag of chips and a half-eaten hot dog, sure, then I'll take it and then I'll pay him. Because they don't have a quarterback contract to pay right now. So I guess they could afford it.
Mm-hmm.
If Ayuk gets traded, he's definitely worth a first-round pick next year, if I'm not mistaken.
But why?
I don't know about first round, maybe like a second or a third.
No, it's a first round. That's what he said. That's what John Lynch said. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
No, I was about to say Ayuk for a first. I don't know.
That's what they said on Twitter. He's worth a first rounder.
Yeah, but John Lynch is going to say, yeah, he's worth a first rounder. He's not going to come out and say, yeah, you know what? I think I'd get rid of him for like a 3. He's going to say he wants a first for him. So I just don't. The thing you have to sell, and don't get me wrong, there's always a team dumb enough to do something.
My team. Thank you.
There's always a team dumb enough to do something. Me personally, I wouldn't give up a 1. I'd give up a 2, sure. Maybe a 2 and a 5, sure. Then fine. But if we're talking like next year's first, then no, because
hang it up like the phone.
Yeah, next year's first is a rookie contract deal, and New England's probably going to finish last in that division anyway, so it's probably going to be a top 15 pick.
Yep, and I will. And on that note, man, quick segment, man. Since we're talking about the draft, we got to talk about the greatest draft of all time. I will go first. The 1989 draft, man. Deion Sanders, Barry Sanders, Steve Atwater, Troy Aikman, just to name a few. Bad Moon Rising went in that draft, just to name a few. The 1989 draft, one of the greatest draft classes of all time. Like I said, Barry Sanders, Deion Sanders, Derek Thomas, Troy Aikman, the only Hall of Fame, the only class in pro football history with 4 out of 5 Hall of Famers in the first 5 picks. Not to mention you have Steve Atwater. He's a Hall of Famer as well. Bad Moon Rising. Hey, just to name a few. Some sleepers came out of there that had a good year or so. You remember this guy, Billy Joe Tolliver, was in that draft as well. Had one solid year in Atlanta, but unfortunately fell off quick. But, there was a lot of great players in that 1989 draft. So, on that note, man, we'll rewind it back and go with the Flash. What was the greatest draft class of all time?
You did 2, so I'm going to do 2. 1981, you had Hall of Famers Lawrence Taylor, Kenny Easley, Ronnie Lott, Michael Singletary, Howie Long, Ricky Jackson, and Russ Grimm, and Sam Mills.
Yeah.
There were 32 Pro Bowlers in that 81 draft, and it's arguably the best defensive draft in history.
Yeah, especially with Ricky Jackson. And Ricky Jackson, I didn't know Ricky Jackson and Lawrence Taylor came out that draft.
Yep. Yeah. So that's my pick.
And then I'm going to go way back, way before all of us, but 1957. 1957 had 9 Hall of Famers: Paul Hornung, Len Dawson, Jim Brown, Jim Parker, Tommy McDonald, Sonny Jurgensen, Henry Jordan, Gene Hickerson, and Don Maynard.
Damn.
And had 36 Pro Bowlers and or AFL All-Stars. So yeah, any draft class with Jim Brown in it, you really can't complain. So
No, indeed not. Harrison.
Man, this is gonna be my personal favorite. But I think you guys are gonna get mad at me, but I'm gonna say 2011. I think Cam, Larry Fitzgerald, AJ Green. I mean, Andy Dalton Whitney, he was really good. I mean,
Julio Jones.
I mean, shout out to Julio, man. That dude's still a stud. But yeah, the reason why I think 2011 because of Cam. Cam was the reason why I love football in the first place. So yeah.
PSP.
Well, I had no idea we were going to do greatest NFL draft, but thank God for Google and research. So forgive me. 1983. You look at it right here. Richard Dent and John Elway, 2 Super Bowl MVPs. You have 8 Hall of Famers: Eric Dickerson, Jim Kelly, John Elway, Dan Marino, Bruce Matthews, Darrell Green, Richard Dent, and Jimbo Covert. The first round haul of the 1983 draft puts this class in a league of its own. So I got to say 83.
Can't go wrong with 83. Hey, among conventional wisdom, hey, that's the year of the quarterback, the greatest quarterback draft class, arguably of all time.
Yep.
Better than the 2004 draft class. Coach, what you got for us?
Just like PSP said, wasn't ready for this one, but I'm not gonna go way back. I'm gonna go with not saying it's the greatest draft of all time, but I think has one of the potential, the way we've seen these players. Now we know the profile on how good most of these players will be. How about the 2022 draft class with most of the cornerbacks, Sauce Gardner, my man Derek Stingley. I believe you had George Karlaftis in that draft. You had Trayvon Walker, who's doing really well. As well, you have what is that receiver over there with the Jets? If he even came,
Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson, them over there. I think that draft class has the potential to be one of the best draft classes. I mean, though that draft class is been right now is really productive draft class right there. And it's especially at corner. It was really deep at corner too. So I'm gonna have to get an edge to that draft class. I think I'm gonna say it's gonna be one of the best draft classes by time most of those guys' careers is gonna be done. You're gonna see Sauce Gardner already got 2 All-Pros already. You have Aiden Hutchinson, who's a good defensive dude, and then you have my guy Derek Stingley, who's gonna be an All-Pro, type corner. You seen what he did last year after he got back from injury, 5 straight games with an interception. And again, that draft class is pretty fun.
BRF.
Oh boy. See, this is where I wish I had done more research, but I will tell you this though, just off of what I already know. I'm gonna pull it up real quick because I got to 1996 with all those wide receivers. I'm trying to remember. Like, it was Keyshawn, it was Terry Glenn. I'm trying to remember who else was in that. Eric Moles was in that draft. I mean, T.O. Marvin Harrison was in that draft. Oh my! I am the greatest wide receiver draft class in the history of the sport. I think the Jefferson and Chase, that just off of the volume that they've already produced alone is starting to make a statement. But 1996, all those wide receivers we grew up on, Pro Bowlers, Hall of Famers, like that's one of my all-time favorites. I love talking about the 1996 one.
You're not even mentioning the 2 best players in that draft. Jonathan Ogden and Ray Lewis.
Jonathan Ogden and Ray
Yes.
Lewis.
Yeah, Jonathan Ogden and Ray Lewis. Yes,
Mike
indeed,
Hall.
man.
And who played for the same organization.
I mean, yeah, basically you're the two greatest players in the history of the franchise.
Got drafted
And-
during that draft class, man. That was
And who
that
was
was
the
so
one
special.
who drafted them, champ?
Ozzie Newsome.
That'd be Mr. Ozzie Newsome who drafted those two.
Mm-hmm.
Ozzie Newsome, man. Look, right next
Just
to Bill
looking at the
Polian.
draft, though. So in the first round, you had Eddie George too.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see who else. Eric Moulds.
Yes.
uh,
So underrated. He was so good.
Tony Brackens, Mike Allstott, Lawyer Malloy in the second round.
Mike Allstott was really good back in his days in Tampa Bay.
Yeah. Brian Dawkins was in the second round.
Woo.
I did not know that.
Yes, he was.
Teddy Bruschi in the third round. Terrell Owens in the third round.
Woo.
Donnie Edwards in the fourth. Linebacker.
Zach Thomas.
Ooh.
John Runyon was in the fourth. Stephen Davis, the running back
Stephen
for
Davis.
the Redskins.
Zach Thomas.
Joe Horn, wide receiver from Kansas City.
Oh, snap. Joe Horn did go in that draft class.
Zach Thomas in the fifth round to Miami.
Woo.
Leroy Glover in the fifth round.
Yeah, LeBron Glover, very underrated.
Marco Rivera was a really good guard for the Packers in the sixth round. And that probably rounds it out. Yeah, that was.
Man, that was one hell of a draft class.
Yeah.
Hey,
1996 was deep.
Another
Really?
good
and then-
one. Another good one though. We've also forgotten 98.
yeah,
Peyton,
yes.
Peyton,
Randy.
Peyton, Randy Moss.
Charles Woodson, Alan Paneka, Jeff Saturday.
Kyle
Justin-
Turley, Greg Ellis, Fred Taylor, Trey Thomas, Keith Brooking, Takeo Spikes,
Mm-hmm.
Alan Faneca.
Keith Brookin was a very underrated linebacker, man. I really like the Keith Brookin, bro.
Patrick
Yes.
Kane, Samari Roll.
Very underrated Samara Rowe. Samara Rowe was a great cornerback.
Yep. Olin Kreutz, center for Chicago. Leonard Little. Jeremiah Trotter, Amon Green, Alan Rossum.
Hines Ward.
Yep. Hines Ward. Yep. Brian Greasy. Gets a little sketchy in the later rounds. There's not as many big like late round. You got Fred Beasley, Matt Burke, and Matt Hasselbeck. That's kind of it, like the late round guys.
Corey
Yeah.
Chavis. Corey Chavis. He was also good in.
Very good. You talking about the receiver that went to? He was a receiver, right?
No, it's
Corey Chavis was a
Vanderbilt.
safety.
Okay.
Arizona.
Vanderbilt. Yeah.
Okay.
But he was really good though back in his days in
Yeah,
Minnesota.
he was.
Yeah.
And
So on
also
that-
too, Patrick
Go ahead.
Surtain.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Right. Oh, and Chip, you forgot you were trying to make a point about Ozzie Newsome.
Yeah. Hey, next to Bill Polian, Ozzie Newsome has to be one of the greatest general managers to ever grace the NFL outside of Bill Polian. Because the thing is, I put Bill Polian at 1, then Ozzie Newsome at 2. Because Bill
Isn't that
Polian,
shocking?
he built the Buffalo Bills team. He had the Carolina Panthers in the NFC Championship by his second year, and then he built the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah.
Champ, can I ask you this question though? Do you think Ozzie Newsome in some ways kind of reminds you of like the NFL's Jerry West? Because he was a really good, damn good tight end back in the day.
He's a Hall of Fame tight end.
Yeah.
He's arguably top 5 tight end all time.
He was
And
like he was the
to
best
be a
of all
great
time.
tight
until-
end and to be a great general manager, is that fair to say?
Yes, that's fair to say, because the thing is, number one, people always want to point to just Ray Lewis, and Jonathan Ogden. He drafted Priest Holmes,
Jamal Lewis.
Suggs.
drafted Terrell Suggs, drafted
Ed
Edrin
Reed.
Hartwell, who's a Pro Bowler, Jamie Sharper, Pro Bowler, drafted Ed Reed, Pro Bowler, drafted Chris McAllister, Pro Bowler. I mean, Haloti Ngata, Pro Bowler. When he got Tony Siragusa and Sam Adams, Pro Bowler. I mean, they just
these are all of his draft picks right now. So this is like a ranking. So Ray Lewis, Jonathan Ogden, Ed Reed, Marshall Yanda, Terrell Suggs, Ray Rice, Haloti Ngata, Adalius Thomas, Joe Flacco, Jamal Lewis, Chris McAllister, Todd Heap, Peter Boulware, Jermaine Lewis, C.J. Mosley, Jamie Sharper, Brandon Williams in the third round defensive, Dennis Pitta, Ladarius Webb, Jimmy Smith, Torrey Smith, Chester Taylor, Corey Upshaw. His only he did pick Flacco and he won him a Super Bowl. Is only somewhat flaws. He never got that
quarterback.
He never got the top flight quarterback. Everything else, he was.
That's why I got to give it to Bill Polian, because the thing was, he got Jim Kelly, and then on top of that, drafted Frank Reich. Then for the Carolina franchise, he was able to, Kerry Collins, then Steve Berline. Then for Peyton Manning, then Peyton Manning finally got Peyton Manning. So quarterbacks, not to mention the running back position, Bill Polian had an eye for the running back position. Thurman Thomas. Then on top of that, Kenny Davis. Then you go from there. Then you go to not only Edgerrin James, traded Marshall Faulk, because really everybody thought it was crazy for trading Marshall Faulk to the St. Louis Rams. Traded Marshall Faulk, got Edgerrin James. Then when Edgerrin James got hurt, remember Dominique Rhodes came in and became a Pro Bowler behind that offense.
And then they drafted Joseph Adai.
Yeah,
out of LSU. Yep.
Yeah, they Joseph Adai. And so, and not to mention the wide receivers that he drafted. He drafted arguably an all-time great. Drafted Andre Reed. Then you go and you segue and you go to Indianapolis, where you not only draft Reggie Wayne, but you draft a Dallas Clark. You draft a Donald Brown. You draft a cornucopia of offensive line. And people don't give him credit for that defense, because he drafted Dwight Freeney, Robert Mathis, Cato June, Nick Harper. So people, Bob Sanders.
Dude. So
when you think about Bill Polian, I will take Bill Polian first if I'm trying to build a team from scratch. And then if I can't get Bill Polian, I'm taking Ozzie Newsome right up there with him. Now, granted, Ozzie has more Super Bowls, but as far as building teams from the ground up, Bill Polian. So, on that note, gentlemen, in the great words of Denzel, I wish we had more time, but we don't. So on that note, man, let's go around the room, tell the people where to follow you at, and let's end this night on a hot note. Not only that, good luck to each and every last one of your teams in the draft. We will reconvene on this show 2 weeks from now for draft ranking. Not to mention, I will be remiss if I didn't put this out. Friday, the PSP podcast. Make sure to tune in, because I know he got something special for each and every last one of y'all, each and every last one of his viewers. So look out for the PSP podcast this Friday. I know he definitely got something for you, so look out on it. So on that note, we'll start with the Flash himself. Tell us what you got, brother.
You can catch me at on TikTok, Flash22 with all underscores in between each letter and number. And then I just started my new TikTok channel called From Dad Bod to Rad Bod. So it's just a thing, basically a journey of me going from dealing with some arthritis issues to kind of getting myself back into shape. So I just posted my first video of that as like an intro to that a couple days ago. So check that out. Other than that, I haven't started up anything on YouTube yet, but I plan to. Just give me a little bit of time, because single dad, so I'm just trying to find some time.
I feel you, man. Shout out to all the dads out there, man. Father's Day's 2 months from now, no Mother's Day is coming up, but the fathers got to give them a lot of credit, man. Got to get credit where credit is due. Harrison, man, straight out of Carolina. Tell us where to find you, brother.
Follow me on TikTok. It's underneath right underneath my my name. Make sure to follow me on Twitter. Same thing, and also as my TikTok and also Instagram. It's Harrison_Wits99. Same thing with Snap if you guys have Snapchat. Champ, please win the South this year because we don't want to see Tampa Bay winning that South anymore. Please, please win the South this year.
Stop hating on Baker.
Frank,
I'm not hating on Baker. I hate the Bucks.
I feel like you hate on Baker because he went from Carolina to Tampa Bay and he was able to do something.
No. LPSP, no.
Okay.
All right. Since we're talking about, all right. So my link tree is in the bio of my TikTok, and you click the link. You're gonna mostly find me, IG, my Facebook, my Twitter, and of course the main culprit is my TikTok. I want to thank you, Champ, for having me on. I want to thank all the guests. I love doing this show with y'all. And I'm gonna end it like this. I'm gonna end it with my slogan. I'm gonna end it with my saying: "A topic not thought about is a topic not talked about." Y'all follow all these gentlemen, and we're gonna keep doing this thing.
Yes, indeed. And on another note, man, BRF, man, I would be remiss if I didn't say this before the coach went. Hey, we have personally swept the Florida Marlins. But let's just go ahead and keep it moving. Go Braves, chop on, baby.
I'm coming. Wait, also, Champ, I'm actually going to Atlanta against the Red Sox, so you better watch out.
All right, I got you.
One more thing before we move on. I do have, and I'm trying to come up with some ideas for some series, for some videos coming up with the baseball season, kind of kicking up into high gear. To my followers out there, if y'all got any ideas for what y'all want me to do, feel free to hit up my page, DM me, give me ideas of what I should do if you follow baseball, because I definitely have a couple ideas myself that I'm kicking around that I'm going to throw out there to get some more content going, because I do love doing baseball stuff and I want to do more baseball stuff. So if y'all got any feedback, y'all feel free to hit me up. I'm always open for suggestions.
You can tell everybody why the 95 Braves are the greatest baseball team of all time. But
No. 2004 Red Sox. Thank you very much.
No, it's actually the 98 Yankees, but we'll keep it pushing.
All right, Coach, go ahead.
Well, I can't speak too much on my Houston Astros because they fucking suck right now, so I can't really do something to do that right now. But other than that, I enjoyed the 2 years that we won the World Series, so I just leave it at that. But I'll say it's a great show, man. Shout out to Champ, PSP. Shout out to all of y'all, man. Like I say, y'all follow me on IG, Coach Dante 31, where I post a lot of film study and promote a lot of high school kids from my area and stuff like that. And also promote some other sports, NFL content and stuff like that and stuff. And my Twitter is Coach Dante 31. My YouTube channel is Coach Dante Playing. So y'all follow me on there. I will give y'all follow back. But shout out to Undisputed for definitely having me on. And you will be seeing me a lot more Undisputed.
All right, now. And the last but not least, my brother from New Jersey, PSP. Tell the people where to follow you, brother.
Follow me on TikTok, Sports PSP3. Follow me on Instagram, X, formerly known as Twitter, Sports PSP. Sports PSP podcast will be back on Friday night, 9 p.m. NBA playoffs, the Miami Heat, they just beat the Boston Celtics in Game 2. Eric Spoelstra, don't underestimate him. His record, I think, in Game 2s is 10-3. And they had a playoff record for the most threes in franchise history, 23 against the Boston Celtics.
Damn.
So, hey, listen, South Beach, there's a lot of distractions, but one thing is assured with the Miami Heat, they do not play. NBA playoffs, NFL draft, we're going to talk about some uniforms. The Houston uniforms, the Denver uniforms, the Detroit Lions uniforms, and wrestling favorite gym Ross moment. So stay tuned on that for the Sports PSP podcast
Let's
on Friday
go.
night, 9 p.m.
Let's do it.
Yes.
And on that note, man, shout out to Columbus, Georgia, man. Look, shout out to the uptown, downtown, E-Dub, Southside. Y'all know what it is. Hey, greatest city in America. Let's get it done tomorrow, man. Buffalo Wild Wings will be packed tomorrow, and I am just anxious to see who is going to shine in the NFL draft tomorrow. And on that note, people, we are out. I will see you in 2 Thursdays.
Peace.